someone I'm really looking forward to speaking to. So without any further ado, how you doing tonight?
I'm alright.
Very
I am good, yes. I'm looking forward to it.
So let's start at the very beginning. So obviously I've come across you quite sort of recently. So tell me the history behind Zarahruth.
So Zarahruth is my music stage name, which is also my middle name. It's like I just used it because when I started recording music, I started working with Rob Irish, who is sort of a multimedia genius, and we recorded the first song, and he said, like, what name are you going to release it? And I was like, what should I save this as? And I was like, I don't know. And he said, well, I'll just put Zarahruth for now, because that was my email address, because no one else had that combination of names, like, back in this, like, decades ago when I first registered for that email. And then I just kind of stuck with it, because it is actually my name, so it's not that weird when people call me Zara. It doesn't, like, make me jump quite so much.
So how long have you been writing songs for?
Started writing and recording properly after I moved up here, so like 5 years now. And before that I was, I played piano and I would mess around with guitar and stuff, and I would write the odd thing, and I didn't do anything with them. I didn't really know what to do with them, and I was too scared to play in public. So it's only in the last 5 years or so that I've really got back into music, and like being a teenager basically.
So what made you sort of jump back at you? Like you said, you've been playing all the way. What was the kickstart to sort of start all that off?
I missed it mostly. So I studied music, like I properly studied music as a teenager. I did GCSE music and I did A-level music, and then that put me off. Like the A-level absolutely killed it for me for a while. And then went to uni in North Wales, and I still messed around a bit, and I taught myself guitar there because I couldn't play piano regularly. I also didn't like playing piano. I still don't really like playing piano in front of people. I've got like a bit of a block there, which is another hangover from A-levels. And then when I moved up here, it's partly because I was trying to meet people and I wanted to go out and do stuff that I enjoyed. And my job was around writing, prose and poetry stuff, and like other people's work. So I kind of decided to have singing lessons, and then just to kind of make my voice a bit stronger, because it was quite weedy. It's still quite weedy, but it's a lot better than it used to be. And then it just kind of started from there.
So your process, when you from a sort of music point of view, you have a piece of music, then put words to it, or words then put music to it?
They're both.
Right.
It varies. Sometimes I come up with lyrics and I think, sometimes I come up with something that I think might be a poem or the beginning of a story, and I think actually this is a song, and then I have to sit down and write a tune for it. And sometimes I've got a tune and then I come up with words to it. Mostly it seems to kind of land together at the same time, like I'll get like an opening line or a bit of a hook or something and work from that. More often, annoyingly, I come up with like a first verse, it's definitely not hook, and then I spend a lot of time trying to come up with some sort of chorus that'll work with it, with people. But it's all over the place. I'm not as standard, I'm not a very organised person. I'm just not. I try to be. It's one of the reasons that I'm not good at releasing music, is because I think I've got to have a relatively organised mind to be able to be like, okay, it's coming out this day, and I need this sorted, and I need this sorted. Whereas I kind of write music, end up a piece, sit and look at it and go, what am I going to do with this then? And then I just kind of have a flurry of activity and shove it out there without any proper fanfare or anything like that, which is not great. Wouldn't recommend it.
Right. So in short, you're just saying you're a creative person. We're all the same thing. We don't organise things, we just create stuff. So you don't play piano in that. Is that something you want to explore in the future, playing that? Because if you got to that level, I'm always fascinated by people who got to that level, but it's been a cool one I found, and I'd really to see your thoughts. I've spoken to people who've literally gone up to whatever grade it is, and even gone and studied in degree level, and they said they find it really frustrating because they lose the freedom to play just off the beat. Is that something you've experienced?
Yeah, I think the problem I had was I liked playing piano, and when I was younger I was an absolute shock. Like, you sit in front of the keyboard and I would sit and play for hours, and I would bore people with the same song over and over again. That was the one I was into. And then when I got to A-level, partly it was that you're picking it to pieces and learning all the theory and things, which is actually really helpful. It's good to know, and it's really useful. But also it was like the level of perfection required, and like the pressure of that just, it sucked the fun out of it, and it took me a really long time, and I think it's why it did literally take me like 20 years to get back to it, and to like learn to play in front of people again, was to realise that as long as you're just enjoying it, most other people will enjoy what you're playing as well. So it doesn't need to be perfect. But I had to shake that, and I haven't shaken that with the piano. So there's a song called Monster Food, which the recorded version has a great piano part, and I didn't write the piano part, Rob wrote it. He wrote it like to my directions. I was like, I want it to sound like this, and I wanted to do this, blah blah blah, and he kind of came up with it. And it's technically, it's not a difficult thing to play, but I can't get to the point, like when I practice it, it's fine. When I try and do it in front of anybody and sing and play at the same time, I can't do it. So we tried to have it ready with the keyboards for the launch for the Sylvie and Zarahruth, because I was going to play it, and Sarah was going to drum to it, and it was going to be great. And we ended up ditching it. She was like, because you can just see that you're hating every second of like having to like play the keyboards and sing at the same time with the song. Like you can just see that you're terrified, and it just makes it not fun. So we'll leave it until we've got past that.
So when you're playing, when you're playing as a child, what you play, classical music or?
Yeah, classical.
So what was the first sort of classical piece you learned?
The first classical piece I ever technically started learning was Blue Danube, because that's the one I wanted to learn. So I started like hammering away and like wrong key and everything like that, but that's what I started with. And then what was the first one? Then I had a book that was called something like it was called Tunes You've Always Wanted to Play, and it was just all these classical pieces that have been like, I guess now like quite a lot of them in adverts and stuff, but I kind of worked it out with my piano teacher. But I got lucky because my parents had a piano when I was growing up, and they had it because they'd inherited it from my stepmom. So it was just sat there, but nobody in the house played. So I spent a lot of time driving my mum nuts by just like smacking at the keys and like holding the pedals down and making as much noise as I could and just pretending to be a classical pianist. And that was when we were still living in the UK. And they took me to a piano teacher who said she's tone deaf, there's no point. Not quite sure how she landed on that, but apparently. So we left it, and then we moved to the Isle of Man, and they took me again to another teacher and said she really wants to learn piano. I started having lessons. I had a really good piano teacher. She's still around, Penelope Basin, Dr. Penelope Basin. She had a PhD while I was learning with her. Again, lovely lady, really good. Very patient with me. Somebody who has next to no concentration. Next to no focus. She works really well with me.
So do you listen to classical pieces now, or is it put you off completely?
I do still listen to classical stuff. I think classical's amazing, and I really like I like film scores as well.
Right, yeah.
And I really like the film scores that kind of fall into classical. And I like modern classical as well. Like I love Philip Glass's stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've forgotten the name of the pieces obviously immediately now that I've said that. But, there's like a series of like 5 pieces that he did. They show up in Battlestar Galactica pieces.
Okay.
And it's really gorgeous, like really simple music to play, but it's really difficult to play well. I love it. I really love it. And Jan Tiersen as well.
Okay.
Another modern classicist, really so good. He's so good, and he wrote a series of music based on some islands, islands just off the coast of France, which was probably about 5 years ago we noticed that, called Usa.
Okay.
And again, like, I could listen to that all day. Like, yeah, I love it.
Do you listen to classical, which is kind of like leaning to the other sort of side of your area? I want to talk to you about this, it's another common one. When you're writing prose or writing, do you listen to classical at all? I find it as an artist, I love listening to the real flow sort of state of creativity.
I tend to listen to stuff without words
Yes,
when I'm writing. When I'm painting, I listen to stuff with words, or like doing anything else, but it has to be stuff that I already know. Like I can't be sat there going like, oh, I like this song, or oh, this is new, and having to like look up the artist. I can't be like some random playlist on Spotify. It needs to be stuff that I already know inside out. And sometimes it's like faintly ridiculous, like technically creative, but not a skill that I really have. I've made some cloaks recently for my the witch side of my income.
I know where this is going.
And the because like it's Halloween coming up, and I was like basically because we dress up as witches and we do ridiculous gigs for like children and adults like just over this season. It's a lot of fun, but we needed to like refresh our outfits, and I was just like, well, cloaks are really expensive if you want one that's semi-warm. Like, how difficult can it be to make a cloak? Like, it's basically a rectangle with a bit of gather at the top, isn't it? It'll be fine. We've got a sewing machine. I can learn how to use it. It's really difficult. It's really difficult. But I spent that entire time listening to the the soundtracks from I Know What You Did Last Summer and Scream 2.
Okay.
From back in, because that was my big thing when I was sort of around like 15, 16,
Right.
so horror film soundtracks, because they were really good music and they tended to be American bands that hadn't had hits in the UK. So it's like a good way to discover stuff. But all like both soundtracks are in order in my head, like just bam bam bam, and like know which songs coming next, so I can work to them and get in the zone really easily.
Right.
And just really enjoy it.
How do you find the words distracting when you're doing that? I like the I can get the instrumental bit completely. I go anything, but words almost jar me when I'm doing the code flow.
No, I think because as long as they're words that I really know, like that I've been listening to at this point for like 30 odd years. That's an exaggeration. 25 odd years. They're stuck now. They're just in my head, so they're just part of the instrumental almost. Like they're there. I don't need to listen to them, and I can sing along to them and not even know that I'm doing it because they're just there. So it's just a way to. I suppose I'm quite a. I don't know if you've noticed, I'm quite a fidgety person. Like I'm not very good at sitting still, and I think when I'm doing something that does actually require sitting still and like thinking, if I've got like for sewing,
Right.
it needs that focus, but it kind of seems to satisfy the fidget part of me that can't really do anything while my hands are busy trying to do something that I'm not very good at. So it seems to work like that. But for writing, ideally, like no words. Or
Where did your sort of start with writing? And was that something you did at school? You just carried it on? Or was it...
Yeah, no, I did that from a tiny age. I come from a family of readers, so like books everywhere from a really early age.
Right.
Learned to read before we even started school, really. So it's just basically in the blood. And I started writing. I wanted to be a writer. I didn't really know what I was doing. And this is, again, we're talking like 8 years old at this point. And my parents found a typewriter in a second-hand shop.
Okay.
And brought that home, which I thought was the best thing in the world. And I wrote and basically rewrote versions of this, rewrote versions of the ghost story. And I don't know how I landed on this. Very specifically, it was always somebody called Bridie was involved for some reason, always set in Scotland, and it was always about like some bloke sailing out on the loch and being drowned by the vengeful spirit of like an ex-girlfriend or someone who drowned or something like that. It was just variations on that story for like several years. But I just really liked it. As the part I liked in school was just making up stories and writing them down, and yeah, no, that never stopped. That has always been something I've done. And I can't imagine not writing things, like even if there's a bit of a gap between me actually putting stuff down on paper and like doing anything with it, or like there might be a few weeks where I don't do anything, but there's usually stuff percolating in my head. I can gather ideas and like lining something up so that when I do sit down it's there and more or less ready to go.
So okay, let's get into this then. I like writing stuff like that. So let's start at the very beginning. Are you pen on paper or are you literally laptop?
Laptop, because my handwriting is so bad and my brain moves so fast. If I try and do it with pen and paper, I'll write stuff down, but I won't be able to read it later.
Can I just make an educated guess here, not knowing you at all? I bet if I took you back to when you were like 10, your handwriting was beautiful. Really nice handwriting.
Yeah, my dad taught us copperplate.
Exactly. Where did it all go? Where did this skill go? I was the same.
And now it's like, you know, sometimes like as part of, because I do stuff as a creative facilitator, sometimes that involves like going off to workshops and things to like learn more skills and network and stuff. And they put you in groups, and there's always a bit where they like stick an A3 or something sheet of paper in front of you, and they're like, somebody needs to do the writing, and people will be like, oh, it's your turn. And I'm like, there's honestly, it can't be me. Please don't make me do the handwriting, because you won't be able to read it. We won't be able to like tell anyone what we've said, because it'll just be a smear on the page.
Okay, so you find, because I was the same. I still tend to write stuff on paper, but I'm the same as you. Before you know it, it's all, and you're like, I've lost all the whole that flow. So when you're when you're writing on a sort of like on a computer or whatever, do you then just let the whole thing flow and then go back and edit, or not editing at all? Or I mean, basically what I'm trying to say is, what's your viewpoint on editing? Yeah.
A little bit as I go.
Right.
Like, because I can feel when it's going off what I wanted to say. But like really, I'm quite loose about it, so sometimes, you know, like you'll be trying to get a sentence down, and you're like, oh, there's a word, and it's the exact word, and the word that I just put down isn't the word that I want. I think if you let yourself get hung up on that, then that's it, like the story's dead. So I have got a system now where it's basically square brackets, where I'm just like, put in a word, and then I'll put in square brackets, like, just come and fix this, and then just keep going, and then I know that there's, and normally by the time I've got to far enough away from it, that then I can come back and reread it, like the word will have come forward, or whatever was wrong with the sentence that it wasn't sitting right has been established by something later on, so I can fix it. But it just makes the first round of edits a little bit easier. Like the first round is like tying up loose ends and sort of slightly lost thoughts.
So first rounds, how many rounds do you go through to?
Oh, it kind of depends. Like some stories just come out. Like I've had stuff published before that I've just, the deadline was midnight that night, and I thought, oh, I've got an idea for this, and I've just sat down and done it, and it's come out. It's just come out as it's come out, and it's been fine, and it's been published. And other stuff that I've redone squillions of times and still not necessarily been happy with. So I think it sort of depends. It depends. There's normally at least like 2 rounds, even if it's like, if there's like a deadline, and if there's like a 15-minute gap between them, but ideally like at least a couple of weeks to come back and then be like, oh, that first sentence is a bit clunky, or I'm not quite doing what I wanted with that. Because you need that distance. Like I think you always need a little bit of distance to see whether it came out, and also because you're not the same person as you were when you were, like everyone moves on and time rolls on, and you're never the same person that you were when you wrote it. So whatever emotionally was going on, whatever frame of mind it was, or whatever prompted that story, once you've got a little bit of space, you can connect it to more than just that moment of writing, if that makes sense. Which is, I think, one of the reasons I'm better at short stories than I am at long stuff is because it tends to be more of a moment of connection and then spreading it out, whereas I'm not so good at maintaining like novel.
Okay, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
So you like short stories more than doing long?
For writing, yeah, I find it. Like, I've written short stories that have turned out quite long. Like I've got some that are like 8,000, 10,000 words, but they're still not novels, they're not.
So when you go into that, so if you've got like a limit of how many words you're going to do, so if you've got a synopsis of what you're going to do, and then it's just a case of putting it together, or is it?
It sort of depends on the story. Like if I'm commissioned for something and there is a word count to stick to, then yeah, I need to sit down and figure out a synopsis of what's doing it.
Right.
But even then, the first draft, I will still just go for it and try not to think about the word count, because you can always cut a story down. Like you can always like pare it down more and more and more, and end up with like 500 words if necessary. Like it's possible to do that. I'm not good at doing that, but like some of the like microfiction writers I know, like just worlds in like 400 words, and it's incredible. But yeah, so I kind of take the angle of write it how you need to get it out on paper first, and worry about that afterwards. And it's I've got a story coming out with a press called Nightjar Press, and they release like single stories as like little chapbooks each.
Nice.
It's like limited edition. It's been trying to get something published by them like for the last 5 years. I've been like sending stuff to the editor. It generally knocks back, and I finally got one of them. But the story that's being published, the version that's being published, initially it was too long, like it was 8,000 words, and like I need it below 6,000 really, just because of like cost and practicalities. So can you cut it down? So I did, and then they came back and said, we want to publish it, but we'll also like suffer the cost of making it longer if that's the version that we want to publish. So now it's extended again. But I think it's better for it because it kind of shrank, and then it was only essential stuff that went back in rather than flab, because you can't really have flab in short stories so much.
No.
Like even if it like feels like flab, like no, that's not right. Even if it feels like extra description stuff, that description is usually doing something. It needs to be doing something.
Yeah.
You can't have the extra words just hanging around because you haven't really got the space for it in that setup, because people notice you get to the end of the story and then you're like, well, why did I read a page about the shape of this room if the shape of the room really didn't matter?
I know what you do. So, what would, if I was talking, if you could go back and say talk to yourself at 15, 16, what are the biggest sort of guidelines you'd listen to be writing now? Because it's changed almost like on a monthly basis. The whole industry is always changing, technology and stuff. I mean, What's the sort of biggest guidance you give yourself if you could go back?
Like just in terms of like working creatively.
Well, just to get yourself to the point of publishing. I mean, just to get yourself out.
I would say don't be a wuss and like actually join in with stuff for a start, because I wasn't a joiner, like Duke of Edinburgh stuff and things like that. I just like, when they announced, I was part of the youth orchestra for a while, and when they announced that there was like a tour trip to Belgium, I dropped out of the orchestra because I didn't want to go that badly. Like really not good at joining in on stuff. So I would say suck it up and start doing things, and like pick up the opportunity to learn stuff, and also in terms of like publishing and getting into publishing, it sucks, but it is partly networking, it's partly knowing where you can send your stuff and who to talk to, and like there is loads of overlap between people who work in publishing and people who write. In terms of like being able to earn money from that world, because you can't really as a writer. You have to be exceedingly lucky, and you need somebody like bankrolling you to get to the stage where you can write that out. Really, there are people who haven't had that like setup, who have like come from nothing and somehow made it big, but it's so rare. Yeah. So I would say do kind of what I did, which is learn practical skills, learn how to do layouts, learn production, learn XML and InDesign and all that stuff, because those are the skills that people need, and like coding for websites, but do it sooner. Like, just have them there.
So again, because I think we're kind of similar in a lot of ways. So again, I'm making an educated guess. Tell me if I'm wrong. So you've been into your writing for a long time. You like to use it a long time. I'd imagine you've been with the art for a long time as well. Or is that something that's just come about in you?
That's something that's art-wise. Doing it a little bit more seriously. That's really recent. That's like almost over lockdown. Sort of. Like always like drawing pictures and stuff. I always like took part in Inktober and things like that. But until I went freelance, until there was like lockdown sort of enforced space, and I wasn't really writing then, because I picked stories up from not pick stories up because that's a little too personal, but stuff is prompted by being out and about in the world, and we weren't out and about in the world. So the songwriting kind of died and the story writing kind of died, and I found those really tough, but pictures weren't. Like I could still do that, like still make stuff up in my head, so I started trying a bit harder. I used to do, do you know what? I did used to do stuff when I was younger though. Like I used to like regularly, now I've said that, my bedroom door, and bless my parents for letting me do this, I used to regularly do like a big mural on my bedroom door and like change it every so often, and like exchange the paint underneath it, because I was using like the big squeezy bottles and stuff. But I would like find a picture in like National Geographic, so for a while I had like a leopard on a branch on there, and then I did one of those things which are now really popular, which flipping it, I was ahead of my time, I'm not even kidding. It was a like angel shaped figure with big wings and halo, and you could like stand in front of it, and it was on my bedroom door. I've got my little sister took a picture of me in front of it, which now that's like the thing, isn't it? Like people paint them on walls and people Instagram them. But yeah, so I did used to do that, and like paper collages across like the fronts of cupboards and things. So I did mess around with it a lot. But I think there were some truly talented artists in my class at school, like genuinely like incredible, and I was very aware that I'm a messer arounder, and I still am a messer arounder, but occasionally I get very lucky and people will pay me for my messing around. But these were like, we were like 15, 16, and you could lay out like the stuff that we were doing in art class, which was, the thing like draw a shape and then just keep doing the lines around them. And then my wobbly mess versus somebody who's just like, and it just looked like art already. There's everyone else's, and there's a piece of art, and it was the same, following the same instructions, but theirs worked. And like, I was just, so that was never going to be really more than a mess around thing, but it kind of has spilled over into the release of the music, and I started doing these little pictures that I just really like messing around with like acrylics and oils and like mini horror scenes, really, because I really like horror, and I don't know why. I'm a nice person, but all my stories have like animals dying in them, and I would never, I wouldn't really like kill an animal, but my stories, just endlessly horrible things happening to them, and I don't know why.
So you like the medium of acrylic and oils?
I'm bad at oils. I'm not great at acrylics, to be honest, and I'm not wonderful at watercolour, but I just kind of keep at it until I get something that I like.
Pen and ink?
Getting better at pen and ink. I've been practicing with that. And I think I've started to figure out my style, which I think helps, like once you kind of know what you do. And I do the things where I'll see a picture that I like and I'll try and copy and just try and figure out how it was done. And like I'm picking up better ways to like look at colour and put it down, but then again it's me messing because like I see you on stage and there's music and you're there for half an hour and like if you couldn't see the canvas it would look like you were just chucking stuff at the thing and like what could possibly come out of that, and then you step away from it at the end and there's this beautiful pictures and like I couldn't do that. It would just look like a child had been given paints and stuff chucked at the screen, whereas you come out with art and I think that's so yeah, I like drawing and I like painting, but I've got no illusions that I'm actually really good at it. But I enjoy it, so I'll keep doing it.
No, I think that's refreshing to hear, because it kind of frustrates me a bit when I hear, particularly when I come across musicians and they're saying, oh, I can't draw. I mean, when people say to me, I can't draw, I'm like, you can, it's just practice. It's like saying, oh, I can't play music. You can if you practice. But there's I'm finding it refreshing from it because it's very similar, because I think that people who are creative can really put their hands to anything. But you do find people who are ridiculous. I mean, you know, I know what it's saying as an artist. I mean, I'm still striving. If I look at some of the masters, I think, like, really, you know, I've got a long way to go. But it's kind of almost drummed into you at a certain point in your life. You're like, no, you're into music, no, you're into art, you're into writing. You shouldn't be like that, I don't think.
People do tend to like, you get pigeonholed. And I always feel a little bit bad for like actors, and they're in bands and they release an album and people are like, oh yeah, of course they're in bands. It's like, well yeah, they've probably been in bands their entire lives.
Yeah.
Like the idea that they've just purely focused on wanting to be in front of a camera is ridiculous. No, that's not how this works. Like, it's another part of the stuff that I end up doing quite a lot these days is like reading work. I got hired to read ghost stories, like Halloween is really my busy work season. But yeah, I got hired to like come in and just like read ghost stories and pubs and things like pre-COVID a few times. And I've just finished recording the narration for a ghost trail around Darlington, which is just kind of. But I wouldn't have like put myself down as that because I'm really not comfortable in front of cameras. Like I'm.
Oh, she says humble bragging.
No, I'm all right with that because it's just recording. It's like just my voice, and it's taken me a long time to be all right with being on a stage. And even now, I still get a bit like Les, Dan and Si actually have got the measure with me quite well because they tend to like give me about 2 days notice before gigs. So if I'm getting on stage with them, like I think the first time I got up and did Silver Birch with them live, they gave me 10 minutes notice.
Right.
And Si was just like, yeah, because like some people give them loads of time to prepare, and some people they'll get in their heads about it. So you just give them a thing and you get in your head. So you just, and then you've got the option like you can say no, but you haven't got time to get in your head, so you just get up and enjoy it.
The reason I say humble brag, I'm not I because it's true, but it's my opinion, so I'm going to have it. I thought the way you were in the zone, or what you want to call it, in the moment of these recording Silver Birch, it was, you were acting in that. I mean, I was saying to Steve the other week that you could watch that, no music on, and it's like a silent movie. It's that, well, I mean, you're like...
I really enjoyed that, but do you know what it was? I was in a mask for 99% of it.
Exactly.
And I only had to take it off the once, and when I did take it off, that was really, that was the worst part of that for me. That's the only bit I really didn't enjoy. As long as I had a mask on, it's fine.
Yeah, and then you double that with the cape and you were away. So you look at the mask and the cape on, you find, so we just, sort of, before we just wrap this up, we just go sort of full circle. How was your connection with the twins, mate?
Music Rocks Festival. I think that's where I first met them. Because obviously they're amazing in that they go to like every possible gig that they can. They're incredibly supportive of like the music scene across the Northeast. And they played Music Box, and it was my first sort of year of like getting to know people in music, and I just kept turning up to stuff and watching it, so I started seeing more of the familiar faces. And it was when Dave Saunders was running it, and he was running it with Sarah Wilson, who's my co-witch on the seasonal stuff. And they asked me if I would help out like behind the scenes, and they left me to stage manage in Hole in the Wall, so Sarah could go off and see a band, and the band that were due on next was Sealing Demons.
Right.
And bless them, because I didn't know what I was doing. They turned up, they knew what they were doing, and they were just like, they're really professional about stuff. They're lovely. massive soft spot for them because one of the microphones broke and they didn't harangue me about it. They just kind of worked with what they had and like turned up on time, got themselves sorted out, packed everything away in plenty of time. Were just wonderful and really nice. And then I think they saw me play. I think they saw me play again, maybe in Music Box.
Right.
But a couple of years later, I wasn't supposed to be playing. I stepped in because I was helping out again, and the person who was supposed to be playing got a flat, and they couldn't make their set. So I just got grabbed and I had to borrow a guitar. I borrowed a guitar off Hole in the Wall, which was like the worst guitar that didn't really plug properly. Borrowed a cap off from one of the other bands, and just kind of had to get up and play something. Just got on with it. I think they liked it, and they liked some of the stuff I was releasing as well. Like none of the stuff that I write and release is particularly commercial or radio friendly, and I don't really know what genre it sits in. It flies all over the place depending on my mood and how I feel. But they like it, and it kind of resonates with them. And so yeah, they just kind of asked me one day, like we were pretty much crossing paths at last train home, which again I was working at. And they said, oh, we've got this song that we want to do, and we wondered if you want to sing on it, and like maybe write it for it, and we'll send it over to you. And they did, and then I failed to do anything with it for absolutely ages. It said, oh, do you want to come to the recording studio? I was like, I haven't written that thing, and they were like, oh, it's fine, we've got other backing stuff as well, we'll figure it out.
Right.
So they drove me out to Swaledale one extremely cold February morning, like so cold. Like I listened to the album and I think the album's incredible. Like, I'm so proud to be on it. I didn't really know what it was going to be like.
Right.
I just kind of trust them to do their things.
Right.
Like it'd be great. But some of the songs I listen to it and all I can hear is like, I'm so cold. Like I can hear how cold I am singing that. Like my voice is shaking, and it's not vibrato. It's because I literally couldn't stop trembling. It was like trying to fit the headphones on over like a massive hat, and it wasn't really working.
I've heard that studio can be very cold in the winter.
So it was a sleety day. It was grim. It was really awful. But yeah, so they kind of pulled me in for that, and it was a lot of fun. And George was there. He's like put on his teacher voice, and was just like, no, we'll sit down now and write this bit. We've got limited time. I need to be out of here at this time. You're writing this section of this song right now. So we wrote it and recorded it. And yeah, and they're just. I was just really, really pleased to be asked because I love their stuff. I love their performances. Getting on stage with them has been fantastic. Like that's been a whole new thing. And it's been because of them as well that I've started performing with people. So Sarah drums for me now.
Yeah.
And that's just been a whole extra thing. But they are utterly sincere and utterly genuine. And when they support you, it makes a difference. Like it really. I wanted to say boosts your ego, but that's not what I mean. Like it just makes it feel worthwhile doing things that otherwise would feel not as worthwhile. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, completely. And just before we do wrap this up before we finish, are you looking forward to tonight?
I am, yeah. Having said all that about like they make you feel like I feel slightly inadequate to be playing between them and Chesty, like flipping it. Like playing before Chesty is like. He's so good. I don't even know how to speak to him. I'm just kind of like sort of said hi over like that. I'm so socially awkward when I don't know people. So I'm just kind of staying out of the way a bit. But yeah, I am looking forward to it. I don't even know which songs I'm doing yet. I thought I'd wait and see what the vibe was like and work it from there.
It's a truly great soul speaking. Well, Fran, it's been an absolute pleasure. I mean, we'll have to do this again because it's been short and sweet. But yeah, well, thank you very much for coming in and spending me half an hour to talk to you. And life is people.
Well, they say that life is people and that people are angels and that angels are devils and the devils are me and you.